Following on daily from Colombo, we're sort of 12 or so hours after the first ODI between Sri Lanka and England. Sri Lanka winning by 19 runs. Harmy, we've come to the beach, a very picturesque view behind us. You can see the Shangri-La Hotel, you can see the Cinnamon Life City of Dreams Hotel behind us as well. 12 or so hours on, as I say, from the defeat. What are your reflections? Have you had time to think more and digest that?
Yeah, my opinions haven't really changed. I think England one batter too many at the top. England's top five got beaten up in Australia, and to throw them straight back out especially into completely different conditions, possibly a bit tough. A little bit of confidence issues with some of the batters. I don't think England were far away in that game. The toss is crucial, and I think they were unlucky. You're unlucky on that, so you're always playing catch up. The last over is a big contributing factor in the game situation, and that for me is not blaming Jamie Overton one bit. I think when you sacrifice a frontline bowler with specific skills, i.e. power play start, power play end or death end, then you're running the risk that whoever has to do that, who is not accustomed to do that, you might concede 10 runs more, but if you got depth in your batting, you should make that 10 runs up. So England chose this team to be like this. So they made the bed, got 272 to chase, and unfortunately they fell 19 runs short. So I still look at that top five and think, we're one too many at the top. We could have, if he's fit, Will Jacks going in and opening the batting. I don't think we can do it now, because you're basically saying, right, give Zach Crawley, he's had one game and he's out of the equation. That wouldn't be fair on Zach. He needs these 3 games to stake his claim for further down the line in the 50-over format. Now you've entrusted him to playing. So where England go, I'm not so sure. If they win the toss, that will help. But I think all in all, they weren't far away, but I still think overall in the world scheme of 50-over cricket, I think this team is well short of where the other top nations are.
And afterwards, I spoke to the England captain, Harry Brook. There's now 4 wins in 16 ODIs for them. Let's hear what Harry had to say. So Harry, thanks for joining us. A 19-run defeat, but what a game. What's your reaction to that?
Yeah, it was a very good game of cricket. Sri Lanka have played well. Their spinners were exceptional, and they put it in the right area for long enough and tested us extremely. It was extremely tough conditions to start in as a batter, so they played well.
How important was that last over of the Sri Lankan innings in terms of the match outcome?
Well, in hindsight, it was very important, but no, you can't put all the blame on that. They fielded exceptional. They outfielded us, which is something that we need to look at as well. So they've saved plenty of runs in the field, and we probably let too many through.
But on the bowling itself, I thought overall it was a good performance. The control of someone like Liam Dawson added with the quality of Adil Rashid. There's plenty of positives still. Yeah,
absolutely, and we know how vital the toss was there. Obviously, the surface got a little bit trickier at the end, but at the end of the day, if you put the ball in the right area, you're going to reap some rewards.
I remember in New Zealand you were saying the toss was important. Is it vitally as important in conditions like this, on surfaces like this?
Well, if the pitch is going to be like that again, then yeah, it's going to be important. But there's no reason why we can't lose the toss and still win.
And what did you learn about the batting front? Because it looked quite difficult to actually start an innings today.
Yeah, it was very difficult to start. The ball obviously wasn't coming onto the bat as nicely as you'd have liked, but you've got to be able to adapt to them conditions. We've had a couple of training sessions, and you'd like to think that we'd be able to adapt quicker, but so be it. And they hats off to Sri Lanka. They've played a good game.
And just on Rayan Ahmed coming into 11 for Will, how disruptive was that? How far in advance did you find out that change was having to be made?
Yeah, Jaxie was ill last night, so we had to pull him last night. But Rayhan had a good game as well there. He bowled nicely, and he batted beautifully as well. To strike it to the boundary like he did, it shows some promise. And
just looking ahead to the second game, if it's on a similar service, I guess any time you play in these services is more about learning and experience, and I guess you'll take that into Saturday.
Definitely, we'll have a few chats amongst ourselves. And we'll try and figure out ways to score as a batting unit and bowl slightly better as a bowling unit.
And just a couple of positives to end. I thought Ben Duckett played well today with his 60 odd, and good for him on a personal note to get back in the runs.
Yeah, he's a phenomenal player. We've seen it for so many years. He suits these conditions as well with his sweeps and reverse sweeps. He was awesome to watch with Ruti in there as well. So their partnership was very good. But like you said at the start, it was very tough to start on that pitch. And yeah, they had a great partnership. But when you lose 2 or 3 quick wickets like we did, it always pushes you back.
How do you find that balance between, obviously you know the scoreboard pressure, so you're going to have to be a bit more aggressive, versus trying to actually get yourself in on services like that?
You always have to give yourself a few balls, but yeah, I can't remember what the run rate was at, but we knew that we probably needed a boundary and over, and then still being able to rotate at the other end.
And just a word on Jamie and his performance at the end. Although in defeat, it shows your batting strength that you can bat all the way down to 11.
Yeah, it never felt like we were out of the game there. We felt. With Jamie facing that last over, you never know, if he hits a couple of sixes off the first couple of balls, then it's a completely different game.
And do you enjoy playing the 50 over format? Because there's been some criticism about it, but tonight proved how good the format can be.
Yeah, it's a good format. It's a long format. It feels longer than Test cricket, but no, yeah, we've obviously got a lot of improvements to make before we hopefully head to the World Cup, and it'd be nice to bounce back from today's defeat.
So that's Harry Brook speaking to me last night after the game. One of the things that did make me laugh, he said, hopefully when we're at the World Cup, the ODI World Cup, I must stress. I know there's stuff going on in the background with the T20 World Cup at the minute, but he said, hopefully if we make it to the ODI World Cup. But should we be at a stage where an England captain is saying, hopefully we'll make it to a World Cup? They're 8th in the rankings at the moment. As I say, 4 wins out of 16. What do they need to do to get back to winning ways?
I think the balance of the side is the big one that needs looking at. I'm not sure we're going all the way back to when Owen Morgan first came in, and you look at that side and you're thinking we picked a lot of test match cricketers to play the 50 over format of the game, and you look at the transformation that, you know, the different thinking went into Owen Morgan's build up to turning into the 2019 World Cup winners. But I think we're closer to 2015 and that change than what we are from sort of 2022, 2023 when Owen Morgan finished and Josh Buttler took over. So I think that is something that possibly needs addressing. I think a lot of talk about we don't play that format, 50 over format. Nobody plays that 50 over format. They really don't. They don't play that 50 over format. So that's not an excuse to hang your hat on. Win the toss in these next 2 games might go a long way to giving them a better chance of winning and getting that 4 from 16 into 5 from 17, 6 from 18. But at this moment in time, at the balance of the side, I think is the biggest worry for me. Especially, you talk about this part of the world and you've got 5 spin bowlers and your 2 seamers aren't recognised seamers in power play start and power play end. I think the balance of the side, New Zealand didn't look great, and the balance of the side throughout recent past, I think could be addressed.
Is that a sort of reap what you sow? Because one of the criticisms of this England side is it's harder to get out of it, to get in, but their stubbornness, I suppose, just to have a select, this is my group, I'm not going to look into county cricket, is that what's really costing them at the moment? Because when you have this options and they're all not firing at the same time, you've got a problem, and 4 wins in 16, as I say.
Yeah, that can be one way of looking at it. How I look at it is England have got 28 contracted players. At the 28 contracted players, we should have enough in them 28 to put out a 50 over side that can challenge the world. I really do, and I don't look at the county cricket stick. That's an easy stick to beat them with. Yes, they might look at it a certain way, but there's players playing franchise cricket all over the world who are good enough to play for England in the 50 over format. And you know what? These players are good. They are good. I mean, we're talking about Joe Root, best player that's ever played the game. Yeah. Josh Buttler, the best white ball player that we've ever produced. You know, we're missing Jofra Archer, 1 or 2 other bowlers that we could potentially call upon. But I think once this 50 over leg is gone, I think England might need to have a good look at where they're going next and how they make sure that their balance of their side, having enough over bowling options at crucial parts of the game. It's not as it's quite easy to turn around and say, well, we've got enough bowling options. yes, we have got enough bowling options, but in the key phases of play and the facets of where the game's won and lost, I don't think we've got the big bowling options, which is how we start the game and how we end the game as two crucial sides. And when we're picking two seamers who are not accustomed to do that, Sam's not bad with a new ball, but we're not picking them to do that, then we're constantly putting our batters under pressure in the second half of the game, which we didn't bat 3 games for 36 overs for 3 games in New Zealand, and we batted all the way down to number 11 in the first ODI. Jill tells you that our batters possibly aren't as good at chasing, when the pressure's on.
So if it's not talent that's the issue, because you mentioned the pool of squad they've got, is it mentality then? Because I guess one of the accusations levelled at teams, I'm not levelling at this England side, but at teams where you have 11 batters is, the next guy will do it, the next guy will do it.
That's a valid point, and that's the responsibility that possibly I was questioning last night, when people might be looking at me thinking, well, Joe Root got 60 and Ben Duckett got 60 in challenging conditions. One of them has to go on. Yeah. The responsibility Mendes did it. In these tough environments, somebody has to carry their bat and bat all the way on and stand next to Jamie Overton when he gets 28 off 11 balls, 34 off 17 balls or whatever he got. So that's just little areas where, a little bit like the Ashes when I talked about England's bowling attack, we had quality bowlers, we didn't have a quality unit. I think we got quality individual players, possibly playing like individuals and not playing like a team. And that sounds as though I'm accusing them of being selfish. I'm not for one bit. I just think that when you put it all together, the 50 overs, I'm not sure this England unit are putting the sort of 50 overs as a team together, and that sometimes comes down to confidence. That sometimes comes down to responsibility of somebody being able to go from number 3, number 4 and bat all the way through from the sort of 15th, 16th over all the way through to the 42nd, 43rd. And another big burning question is, you talked about the batting unit and the batting order. If we're pulling up 19 runs short and Josh Buttler's coming in the 37th over, I think something needs to be addressed there, because that's too late. That's too late for Josh. So he looks as though he's, Josh. I don't know. Josh is a quiet lad. He looked as though he had the weight of the world on his shoulders yesterday, both in the field with a bat. He looked as though he did. I'm just speculating.
Towards the end of his captaincy.
Yeah, it just looked as though he's not enjoying. Whether he's not enjoying playing for England or he's not enjoying playing 50 over cricket. I came away from that yesterday really worried that the best player we've ever produced in white ball cricket is not enjoying playing. Didn't enjoy playing yesterday. I might be a million miles wrong, but that needs to be addressed, because we need that lad playing at his best, at his most enjoyment, and if it means moving him up to number 4 in these conditions to bat as long as he possibly can, then I'm not bothered about the rest of the team, because he's our best player. In this format, in our 50 over, in white ball format, he's our best player. So if he's going in the 37th over and we're 19 runs short and we're game, that's the first thing I would start addressing if I was in there. Get my best player to bat as long as he possibly can in the game situation that suits him the best.
We'll hear from Sam Curran shortly, but I look at the comments on Twitter and Instagram, the talkSPORT Cricket. There's a lot of heat on Harry at the moment. A lot of people aren't happy with his comments about this is how I play, and then the way he gets out, it doesn't particularly look great. But what does Harry need to do? Does he need something to go his way now, just to get a good innings under his belt, play sensibly, and start to win the trust back of the not only his teammates but the public as well? Yeah,
I think the public will support Harry Brook the minute he starts sort of winning games and scoring runs. So they're fickle that way, so that's fine. I wouldn't worry about that. I think Harry, it's like a centre forward not scoring for a while and getting one to go in off his knee or his shin or his backside, and then all of a sudden the scoring run goes. I mean, he got out stumped yesterday. England were behind the game when he was going. They were chasing over 6.5 and over. He had to do something, and we all know how difficult it was to start an innings that yesterday. So he was trying to be proactive. No problem with that. No problem with that. Harry just needs a little bit of luck. He needs a little bit of luck to go his way. First thing he could do is win in the toss. Take some take some notice of what Ben Stokes does at toss when he won 4 out of 5 in Australia. If Harry Brook was to win 2 tosses in the next 2 games, that will go a long way of starting the confidence process, because his team will then be in the best situation of that game going into the first ball, which would be obviously batting on a fresh wicket, putting the runs on the board, and then hopefully defending it. And if he can help by scoring runs himself, then all the better. But Harry just needs a little bit of luck. Let's be fair, right? For anybody keeps having a go at that lad, what's happened in Australia and happened in New Zealand is gone. You can't do anything about that. Yeah. He is a very, very talented human being. He's been away from home for a long period of time. He's England captain for a reason that he's one of our best players, and I think he needs backed, right? We've all kicked him, and I think the time for kicking needs to stop. Unfortunately for Harry, he ran on a wicket and missed one yesterday. If he can get a 40, 50, 60, 70 and a winning cause, then all of a sudden the noise will dampen down, and hopefully from Harry's case, he will move on in a trajectory which we want to see. Because, like I said about Joss Buttler, we need Harry Brook. We need Joe Root, because them 3 there are our best players in this format. But we need a stable start to get them off to a good start and a chance for them to fulfil their skills. But at this moment in time, it just seems as though we're not playing as a cohesive group and a team in 50-over cricket, and that's costing us a little bit. And it will always cost the captain, because he's the man that has to come out in front and centre when it comes to the press conferences.
You mentioned captains. Sam Curran's actually been tipped by Darren Gough, of all people, to be the next England captain. So let's hear what Sam Curran had to say. Last night after the game, I chatted to the England all-rounder. So Sam, thanks for joining us on talkSPORT. Let's start by looking back at the game last night. A 19-run defeat, but what a game to be a part of.
Yeah, obviously first game of the trip, very disappointing not to win, but I guess, it was one of those games, full 50 overs at both sides, I guess, but disappointing, but lots to learn going into the next one.
And I know games are decided on small margins, but how important was that last over in Sri Lanka's innings going for 23? If you could have maybe reduced them to like 12 or 13, that's a match-winning over, I guess, for them.
Oh, I guess hindsight's a wonderful thing. I thought we bowled really well throughout as a group, and the way we batted as well. Ruti and Ducky had a fantastic partnership, and just unfortunately sometimes in these conditions you can go bang bang, and we lost wickets in clusters, which probably hurt us in the end. And like I said, lots to learn going into the second one.
And you've got the control of someone like Liam, but the quality of Adil with the ball. So despite the defeat, still plenty of positives with the ball.
Yeah, the spinners bowled beautifully. Rash obviously showed his class, and 3 for 40 I think he was, and then Dorsey is pretty amazing what he does. Obviously left arm spin so accurate and very clever as well. So I think he had 1 for 30, which was amazing. I thought we bowled really well, fielded well, and just unfortunately tonight we didn't finish it off.
And what was it like being part of a 2-man pace attack?
Yeah, it was different. Obviously the surfaces out here are pretty challenging. Got to be creative with your field sets, coming around the wicket, slow balls and stuff like that. So it's a good experience, and I think we'll take a lot from today.
And Gareth Batty was on comms actually for the first ODI, and he was talking to you about the moon ball, and he was recalling an incident in training. He went, if you bowl that in a game and it doesn't go for 6, then it's all gone wrong. Just tell us about that though, because it's just adding variety to what you've got to offer.
Yeah, I'm obviously playing around with things. I've been practicing it for a long time. Bats probably knows that as well. So, but yeah, I think I just found I had to add something different to my game. I think the best thing now, or the challenge, is not overusing it and just keeping that mystery about my bowling as much as I can, and trying to keep developing. It's not always going to work, but it's just nice to have in the armoury. But these surfaces obviously are quite slow. Sometimes a bit of spin or grip for the seamer as well. So keep trying my best, keep improving, and lots to learn.
And what did you learn about that service today with the back? Because it looked very hard to get going on a service like that.
Yeah, I think obviously Sri Lanka are very clever the way they bowled, and some quality spinners as well. I guess it was a slow wicket, obviously had a lot of turns second innings, and I guess just rotating strikes, stuff like that obviously looked quite tough, and I guess in hindsight losing by 19 runs, we'll look back on things we can get better at, and hopefully put that better into the second ODI.
And just how important is the toss in conditions like this?
I guess the toss is important in these conditions, but I thought we bowled really well. We're pretty happy with what we were chasing, I guess. But yeah, we just unfortunately didn't get that full performance in. We did a lot of things right, but hopefully in the next game we can put all 3 facets to good right, and hopefully have a really good game.
And just how much of a disruption was it that Will went down and Ryan had to come in? Did that change the plans at all?
Well, I guess, we named the team, but he didn't come to training yesterday. He was feeling really ill, so hopefully he's okay. And I guess Ryan had a pretty good game as well, showed his class, so not a bad guy to come into the side for Jaxie, but hopefully Jaxie's recovering well and he's okay to go the next game.
And what's the key for you? Because you were 2 weeks ago, you were winning the ILT20, you went via Sydney, you're now in Sri Lanka, completely different services. So what's the key for you to adapting to what's in front of you?
Yeah, I guess these 2 weeks are really important. Obviously, we've got a massive World Cup coming up, but these 350 over games are massively important as well. I guess we trained on these wickets. We knew what we expected, but I guess the challenge for all us players is to adapt as quickly as possible. We'll take a lot out of today, and I guess the whole thing about being in these conditions is very challenging, and hopefully we can show that we can perform against the Sri Lankan side, and it's one game and there's still a lot to play on this tour.
And just on you personally, you've seen in the last 12 months, it's probably, you don't look too far ahead because you're out the England side now, you're in the England side. How important is it about enjoying now and being around the England setup again?
Yeah, it's all about being in the moment. I'm obviously massively pleased and proud to be back with the England group. I love playing for England, love playing in this group. So hopefully one game at a time. We'll focus on the next game, and I guess we know what's ahead of us is exciting. But the big message is just take one game at a time and stay in the present.
So that's Sam Curran speaking to me last night, Harmy. If you had a blank canvas of players to pick from, in terms of first names on the team sheet, where does Sam fit in for you? Because he seems to be a valuable asset to this side.
He is a valuable asset to the side, and he would be in there. I mean, I mentioned three names there: Brook, Root, and Bottler. Yeah. They're the three that I pick over anybody else. And that's it. That's where I start. You hope that Archer comes back into it from a bowling point of view, and then Adil Rashid. So there's five. Okay. That's the five that England. I would say, right, that's where you start with. Then you start fitting pieces in around that group. And I think you look at somebody like Sam Curran, who probably is your fifth bowler. You know, he's not, I wouldn't say, because Overton, Curran, two bowlers, they're not, in 50 over cricket, for me, they're not bankers to bowl 10. So, you know, we've seen in the first game, Sam bowled a couple of good overs with a new ball, but then he gets lined up, and it becomes a little bit easier to face with a newer ball when it's coming onto the bat a little bit more and it's skidding on, where he's more utilised in the middle when it's a bit softer, and he can use his variations. But for me, I think he is very, very important in that number 7, number 8 role. So he would be in the next group I'd be putting into the side. But at this moment in time, I look at England's white ball team across the formats, and for me, Brook is captain, and he's him, Bottler, Root, Adil Rashid, Jofra Archer. For me, there's 5. Start with them 5, and then start picking a team and a game plan around that 5. And whether that is explosion at the top, like we had with Roy and Bairstow, then we go for explosion at the top, and that could be someone like Jax. You have Sam Curran for me in the middle, when you're sort of fifth bowler, your bits and pieces, and then you're looking for a different spin option. Liam Dawson, I thought, bowled really well the other night. These are then you start picking pieces around that. But I think England might need to address at the top and the balance in that middle, lower to middle order, and make sure they've got a specific bowler to bowl power play start and obviously the 2 death overs from one end. And that, for me, is fundamental basics of how you would build a one-day or a white ball team.
So in terms of just looking ahead to tomorrow's second ODI, in terms of changes, if Will is fit again, he missed this game due to illness, would Will come back in, and then would you bring in Luke Wood? You mentioned the death bowler, would you bring in Luke? So at least 2, or?
I think in an ideal world, having not just given Zach Crawley the first game of a 50 over series when he's only played 8 in his career, and he didn't play in New Zealand, I think in an ideal world, if you're starting from afresh, and this was the first game, I think Will Jacks would open the batting with Ben Duckett, and Luke Wood would come in at number 11. Yep. And then you would have that power play bowler at the start, and your 2 death overs would be from Luke Wood. And I think that, for me, would be a more balanced side. But unfortunately, when you come with teams, you have to, if you've given somebody a chance, you have to stick with them. And I think it would be unfair on Zach to drop him. I really do think once you've picked him, it would be unfair to drop him.
Especially after all the noise.
Can you drop Ben Duckett? No. So unfortunately, I think you have to possibly stick with the same group, and maybe bring Luke Wood in. If you want to bring Luke Wood in, for a Rian Ahmed, who I thought did brilliantly.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, if Will Jacks is fit to play and he comes back in, he'll come back in for Rian Ahmed. I think that's probably the one spot that's up for grabs. So whether you stick with the same side, because these were the first 11 that you backed, you bring Will Jacks back in. I can't see them changing Crawley at the top, but I think your seam option, I think, needs to be addressed. But if you want to go down the route of, right, this is how we want to play our cricket, we back the batters and pack it down to the bottom end, and we're not bothered, we'll forgive 10 runs in the field with the ball because we can make the 10 runs up with the bat at the bottom end of the game. Well, I don't like that, because if if you're relying on number 8, number 9, number 10 to win you a match with the bat, then something's not gone right at the top. So I can possibly see England going one change, Will Jacks in for Rian Ahmed, or potentially keeping the same side.
Just finally, there was a stat yesterday I saw Chris Stocks from the Eye tweet. In Brendan McCullum's 40 games he's had since becoming all-format coach, I think he's lost something like 23, 24 of them. Now, take away the T20 record, which is very good, the stats will obviously look more damning. How much does he need a good final 2 ODIs, a good T20 series and a good World Cup?
The answer is going to be the same as what Harry Brooks was. We're kicking Brendan McCullum, and I think some of it's just, but some of it is a little bit unfair. I mean, some of it is, yes, you look at that and it does look damning. Yeah. But the feel-good factor, the mentality, I think what Brendan McCullum and Ben Stokes, Rob Key, Harry Brook has brought to this England team over the course of 3.5 years, that needs to be looked at as a whole, not just in 40 games. The 40 games, yes, it's a damning reflect on where we've been recently. And I think that's down to confidence. But keep kicking the same people, I don't think that's fair. I think Brendan McCullum needs a game like Harry Brook needs a game. Yeah. If Harry Brook has a good game, England win. Brendan McCullum has a good game because England win. Yeah. So I think it comes as a package. I think the time for reflection of the Brendan McCullum tenureship should come after the T20 World Cup. Once that T20 World Cup is gone, when we can have a reflection on playing against the best sides in the world, both home and away in Test match format. We've played ODIs, we've had World Cups in the T20 format, and then reflect on the whole lot as opposed to just the last sort of 12 to 18 months. Because yes, numbers reflect on whatever, but you can make stats look to whatever you want. And if you want to be negative towards somebody, them stats will make him look negative towards somebody. I think if you look over the course of 3.5 years, 4 years, I think Brendan McCullum for me has done more good for English cricket than bad for English cricket. But unfortunately, against the big sides and the big games, we've come up a little bit short. And the criticism I have had of him is that the same mistakes of why we've come up short are becoming more frequent, and that is a team that's not really learning, and that for me is the only concern I have.
So is it no coincidence then that the likes of Johnny Bairstow, Stuart Broad, James Anderson, they're now out of the side and the results have started to plummet? Does Brendan need a specialist coach in there? Because he said he's not going to change his way, and that's fine. He's a great motivator of people. And that's fine when you've got the likes of Johnny, Stuart and James and those guys who know their games inside out. They don't technically need coaching per se. But does he need someone to tell Zach Crawley, oh, this is how you deal with the ball on the up and sort of stuff like that?
No,
shouldn't you need coaching?
We should. We always look at things with hindsight. We always look at things after the event. We always try and be smarter after the event. What I'll say with that is, when Brendan McCullum became coach, he had a very experienced side who didn't need coaching their own game. England have put this side together and stuck with this side together, who have made the same mistakes, who probably do need coaching on their own games, and that should not be in international cricket. Yeah. You should not need. I've always said the best coaches in the game should be from second team county level through to into the sort of from a junior pathway, second team county level into the first team, because that's where they're going to learn the fundamental basics of their game, their individual game. The rest of it, when they come and play a bit higher, if they're technically good, if they're mentally strong, if they've got the game, all they need is just a little bit of guidance in the right direction and keeping on the path. And that's what Brendan McCullum is very good at. Yeah. So I can't blame him for this. I can't blame him for the technical issues that England players have got. That comes down to sort of how these teams have been picked. I think the way this team has been like you said before, it's easier to get out in. It's not easy, whatever that is. It's easier to get out of than it is to get in.
Yeah.
So, and I didn't get that one right either. But
it's easier to stay in the team than
exactly,
get out. Yeah.
you said it better than me.
There we go.
But for me, that's where I think where English cricket is at fault at this moment in time. It's the players that we're picking, and the players that we're backing, and the players that we're sticking with. If they keep making the same mistakes, if they need coaching, they shouldn't be playing international cricket. And that, for me, is part of the issue that we've come up in the last 18 months.
So there's been more big news out of the England camp, stuff like Luke Wright leaving his role as selector, all the fiasco going on with Bangladesh. We'll cover that following on with Manners and Harmy on Monday. But don't forget, you can hear live and exclusive ball-by-ball commentary of the second ODI between Sri Lanka and England from Colombo. We're on air at 8:30 a.m. in the UK ahead of a 9 a.m. start. Can England level the series in Colombo? We'll be back for following on daily after the second ODI tomorrow. But for now, thanks for watching.